Good morning, everyone. That song is so beautiful, and it ties right in, blends us right into our theme today of imagination. Because didn't you hear the words of the song, and you saw those pictures in your mind, just how the melody and the words came together, and your mind creates those pictures. And that's that gift that we have. That's that amazing gift of imagination. It's one of the easiest gifts as you go through the 12 powers that Charles Fillmore shared with us. Imagination's the easiest one to understand because we use it all the time, right? Think about all the inventions and discoveries that have happened, certainly over time, but even in the last 10 years. Think about some of the crazy imaginative things that have come out. Like the iPhone, that's somebody's idea. Live streaming, hello live streamers, welcome. Electric cars that are going over 300 miles on one charge. The Mars rover, the Keurig coffee makers, there's so many things. And smartwatches and 3D printers that can create organs, the science and the technology and the amazing things that we have, in addition to the creative and beautiful things that we have, the art and the music and the books and words. Everything is just, there's so much. It's a wonderful world, if you just really think about all the things that have come together. But I have a couple of things I want to share with you. I have a lot of different books and sources today because we have the 12 powers are such a big part of Unity, and we have a lot of authors that speak to that. And right now, I'm reading from a book called New Thought for a New Millennium, and it's the 12 Powers for the 21st Century. And it's a book of different essays by different Unity authors. And of course, and if you would not be surprised to know that imagination is the essay. The essay is written by James Dillett Freeman, who is a masterful writer and a person who was the leader of Silent Unity for many, many, many years. And here's what he says about imagination, and we'll have a few other things, but this one is: every single one of our achievements, every single blessing we enjoy only because someone who had come to the farthest edge of knowledge and had been told that that's as far as anyone could go, said, "Perhaps, but I wonder." Sometimes someone refused to settle for what seemed to be. Someone dared to ask his or her mind, "Have you yet more to reveal?" And in the mind, a light shone and cast a glow. And in that glow, there was yet more to be found. So that's James Dillett Freeman. You could see why I like it, and you could see why he's perfect for the gift of imagination. So we hear a lot about how we are created in the image and likeness of God, and we hear about this power of imagination, and that image is in there, and that imagination is in there, and it's like, how do they come together? What links them together? And I thought, I should know this, but I don't, and so I went to my other favorite author, Eric Butterworth, masterful. This book and his other book, Spiritual Economics, are noted all over. They're my go-to source if I have questions or not sure what to do. And of course, Eric Butterworth came through for me. He says, it's important to recognize that the discoveries in the world around you are really self-discoveries. We've opened our eyes to more completely. So think about that. All these discoveries, all these inventions, all these ideas, all these beautiful songs and words and paintings and creative expressions are the gift of God within us. They are us really discovering who we really are and expressing that. we think that we are so much smarter than our ancestors. You know, we think, oh boy, you know, they used, this pops into my head for some reason, they used fax paper and fax machines. And we were cleaning out our house this week, and I found 2 rolls of thermal paper fax paper. So that's kind of where that came from. But you know, we think, oh man, that was so old-fashioned, and that's not even that long ago. But you think about the discoveries that people had thousands of years ago, and it's not that we're any smarter than they were. We just have more tools than they do. You know, when you look at the Great Pyramids, and you look at these fascinating irrigation systems and these engineering feats that are just marvelous, and you realize they didn't have computers. They didn't have backhoes. They didn't have all these tools that we have now. If you saw the movie Hidden Figures, it's about these black women mathematicians who were the computers behind getting people into space. They were human computers. And it's just a marvelous movie. You should see it. But so, you know, we're smarter than they were. They used their imagination differently, and they still had the imagination. So the point is that we each have our gifts along the way. We use our imagination to express who we are and what we are. And so that takes us to how we are made in the image and likeness of God. We already are that image. It's not like if I pray hard enough, I'm going to be the image and likeness of God. If I'm good enough, I'm going to be the image and likeness of God. If I work really hard, and maybe we'll get around to it, I think we can do this. No, we already are. We were made in the image and likeness of God. And so that means that we are the radiant life of God. We are the love of God. We are life. We are the health. We were made with perfect health and perfect life and perfect expression. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? That because we are that imagination, that is part of who we are, and it's up to us to express that, to take the form. That's what imagination is, taking the idea and giving it shape and form. I'm going to scoot over here and get to Charles Fillmore because he explains it. Imagination is the act or the power of forming a mental image of something not present to the senses or never before wholly perceived in reality. And I got one more. Imagination, and this is Freeman talking about Fillmore, imagination is the maker in us of forms and shapes. See yourself as you appear or as you seem to be in your mind. Cultivate imagination. Be true to the heavenly vision. Picture in your mind continually that which you want to be and refuse to judge according to appearances. So sometimes our appearances might say something less than perfection, something less than, just less than, you know. Sometimes we see ourselves in a position of lack, or a position of not enough, not good enough, not having enough, not being enough. And, you know, that's not true. In the image and likeness of God. So we are enough. We have enough. We can give enough. I'm going to skip over to Fillmore again because he says that God essentially talks to us through our ideas. You know, you ever have a divine idea? Where did that come from? Did you ever have a dream or a vision? Where did that come from? And Fillmore started Unity. This is really a fun thing that I can find here. Give me a second. Okay, and so this is talking again, he says, Mr. Fillmore said that although he saw his wife, oh wait, I'm going to use my glasses on this one. Although he saw his wife get healing through prayer, in the beginning of his search for God, he found the statements of the truth teachers so muddled and conflicting that he said to himself, in this babble, I will go to headquarters. If I am spirit, and this God they talk so much about is spirit, we can somehow communicate, or the whole thing is a fraud. He commenced sitting in the silence every night at a certain hour and tried to get in touch with God. He kept at this month after month, mentally affirming words and leaving his mind open to receive inspiration. And the time came when he realized that in his dreams, he was finding communication with God as the So how are we listening to God? How are we hearing the voice of God? There's so many ways that we do that, and so many ways that other people have done that in the Bible. Think about how many times in the Bible a vision came to somebody in a dream, or the angel said to him in a dream. Think of the Christmas story. Mary, don't be afraid, or Joseph, it's okay. You can go with Mary. There are a lot of ways that we hear God. I'm sure if I asked any of you, sometimes you just know. It's just something that's like, hey, this is the right thing to do. We know this. Sometimes it's just a knock on the door and someone shows up and it's like, oh, wow, that's the answer to my prayer. I had no idea. We have a lot of different stories. Everyone has a story about how they have connected with God and with the image and with the divine idea of how to move forward. I want to take another one here. Let's talk about, I had so much fun. There's so many great sources available to us. In this one, I'm going to actually go to the Bible. And we're going to go to Genesis. And this is chapter 28. And you've probably heard the story of Jacob's ladder. And that's where we're going. This is Genesis chapter 28. And we're down to verse 10. And I'm going to read a chunk of it. And bear with me. And I want you to think about unity in this, if you could. Yes, Jacob is hearing God talk to him, but think about what he says. And I want you to think about how this might apply to Unity of Cedar Rapids, okay? Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran, and he came to a certain place and stayed there that night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed that there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and your descendants. And your descendants shall be like the dust of the earth. And you shall spread abroad and to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And by you and your descendants shall all the families of the earth bless themselves. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go. And I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done which I have spoken to you. And you're going to like these words coming up. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place. And I did not know it. Bet you didn't know that's where the words of that song came from, did you? Surely the Lord is in this place. I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So Jacob rose early in the morning, and he took the stone which he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil. This way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I may come again to my father's house in peace. Then the Lord shall be my God. This stone which I have set up for a pillar shall be God's house. And all of that thou givest me, I will give the 10th to thee. So Jacob saw this vision of a connection with God, and that surely this is the place where we connect with God. That's kind of what unity is to me, anyway. We connect with God anywhere and anywhere, any place, anywhere, anytime. So it's not that we have to come to a building to connect with God, but we come here for the community. We come here to lift each other up, to stand up for each other, to support each other. And so that's why the place is important. So build your house of God so that you have a direct connection with God. And sometimes, like, when you don't feel that. It's like, hey, I've got a blockage. I am not connecting with God right now. I have all these things going on in my life and everything's messed up. I don't know what to do. Anybody had that happen? So that's when it's okay to come here and say, I need to plug in again. I need to plug in with God. I need to plug in with my friends who know the truth about me. They know the truth that I am made in the image and likeness of God. They know that truth for me. And that's why we have unity centers. That's why we have these places to come together. It's so that we can stand up for each other and be there for each other and know the truth when we sometimes don't see it for ourselves. Okay, so I kind of got off track there. We're back to imagination, all right? And when Jacob had his imagination and saw the vision of the church and his foundation there. So imagination is the ability to perceive limitless possibilities. Limitless possibilities. It lets you see beyond appearances. You might have the appearance of being less than. You might have the appearance of lack. You might have the appearance of being less than healthy or less than wealthy or less than whatever. But we know the truth that you're not, you're born in the image and likeness of God. So you need to use your imagination to bring form to that, comes in. This quote, if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. And it's a famous motivational quote. I've seen it in at least 3 different authors, but Napoleon Hill is the one the internet said it first, I guess. But I also have from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Eric Butterworth also says that. But conceiving is the imagination part. If you can conceive it, if you can picture it, if you can dream it, it's already in your head. It's already in your consciousness. It's already a part of who you are. Those dreams, those ideas, if you can conceive it and believe it, that's where faith comes in. Believe it. If you can conceive it, believe it, and achieve it. And achieve is will. We're going to get to those other powers in a minute here. I had a couple of stories here. One of them is many years ago, after I graduated from college, I had to find a job. And I had one of those liberal arts degrees, that it's not one of those STEM jobs that I was getting. It's like, what am I going to do with this? And it was a time of a recession, and so there weren't many jobs. But naive that I was, I had no idea it was a recession, and that worked to my advantage. So I looked for a job, and I had some challenges, but I kept looking, and lo and behold, in August, so I had graduated in May, and so I was working 3 part-time jobs at all these different places, but I was trying to find a real job, So come August, here's this place that is hiring, and this job is like, wow, I can do this job. I'm going to go for it. And so I applied for the job, and I got it. And guess what? In this time of recession, the place that was hiring people was the Fisher family. Does it figure that the ones that are saying, hey, it's not a recession for us, and for those of you who don't know, the Fisher family is one of the first families of Unity of Cedar. A pretty cool story story that I discovered later, but just so it's that whole idea, is this a recession? It wasn't for people who didn't think it was, and so I got that job and I worked there for many years, and it's the whole concept of path is not determined by other people. It's not determined by what's out there. If you can conceive it, you can believe it, you can achieve it. Freeman, I'm back to him again. He wrote so well. I looked through several sources. I had Butterworth, I had Fillmore, I had Houseman, and couple other ones, and they all had good stuff on imagination, but Freeman just said it better. So I've come to him a couple of times on this. He says, let's see if I can find it here a second here. Okay, yeah. He says, imagination, where is it? Give me a second. It's a great quote. I need to have it. All right. He says, imagination is the most entertaining and the most frightening of all our faculties. It is the conjurer. It can beguile and bewitch us. It can frighten or enlighten us. It can lift us to ecstasy or plunge us to despair. If we let it run unrestrained, it may take over our whole life. Often do we like, oh my God, that's terrible. Oh, that's awful, that's happened. Think about your daily habits. Think about what you're doing every day. You get up, what do? You turn on the TV, you check your phone, you read the newspaper, you turn on the radio. Anything you do there, what are you getting? Are you getting cheerful and positive and happy words? Are you getting uplifting things? No, it's just feeding you this gloom. The phrase used to be, bad news sells newspapers. Well, now it's, bad news gets clicks. So yeah, and it's a habit that we've gotten into, every day, and sometimes many times a day, we're reinforcing gloom and doom. We're reinforcing negativity. We are reinforcing in our imagination all this negative stuff. We train ourselves to see the worst. And so it's no wonder when something happens, that's our go-to response. It's like, oh no, that's horrible. When you look on the internet and you're looking at these news stories, are you going to click the one about the murder? Or are you going to click about the puppy? Many of us are going to end up going to that bad news one first. And then we'll go to the puppy. But, it's a habit. It's a habit. When you hear an ambulance or a fire siren, what's your first thought? What are you thinking? Are you thinking, oh, a fire, somebody's sick, somebody's dying, somebody's injured, someone's in pain. You're thinking of loss. You're thinking fear. And that particular example came to mind when my kids were little, because they heard that siren and they're like, what's that noise? And where are they going? And I realized at that moment, I can teach my kids about fear and about loss and scary stuff, or I can try a different approach. And so I said, they're going to help people. That's what ambulances and fire trucks do, the people that are in there. They're going to help somebody. And that it ties in with a great unity expression. Thoughts held in mind produce in kind. Have you heard that before? It's pretty well known. Thoughts held in mind produce in kind. If you're thinking the gloom and doom, you're going to see gloom and doom. If you're looking for good, you're going to find good. That wonderful world. I get to look out this window. It's just beautiful. And fields when we're riding bikes. I can hear the crickets out there. They haven't hit our yard yet, but I know that they are coming right. They should be about now. But, listen, I know the cicadas don't come until the 4th of July. Do you ever notice that when we have this beautiful, beautiful world. And so, the thoughts held in mind are we thinking about the gnats and how bad they are? Or are we thinking about how beautiful it is? Are we thinking, hey, there's a nice breeze today, it'll blow them away? Or did you notice the birds, with all those gnats out there, the birds were having a party. You're hearing birds chirping at 7 o'clock at night, and they're just going crazy. And it's like, what the heck? Why are these? You don't usually hear about these birds going crazy. It's the gnats. They're like having this crazy wild party because they have all these gnats they can eat. So anyway, it's perspective. It's perspective, right? It's using your imagination. We create the story. We create the image in our mind to go with the beautiful or to go with the negative. We have a choice. And it's that back-sided version of imagination. You get to choose. Are you going to take your mind pictures one way, or are you going to picture those birds having a wild party? Butterworth says, and this whole imagination, using the good and bad and having the choice, it's all part of prosperity consciousness too. How you think of things makes a difference in what shows up in your world. Butterworth jokes, I think it's a joke. He says there's no philosophy in the world, and certainly no metaphysical teaching that can lead you or us to, I'm missing something here. There's no philosophy in the world, and certainly no metaphysical teaching that can lead us to our prosperity or success if we're looking out the wrong window and indulging our emotions in feelings of negativity and gloom. There is no way you're going to get success. There's no way you're going to have prosperity if you're looking at the gloom and doom. You cannot do that. You have to look away from it. And the whole prosperity consciousness is getting in flow, and knowing that the world has abundance all around you, everywhere around you. You look out your window, you see abundance out there. You look in anywhere. You look at our music today, isn't that abundance? That's prosperity, imagination, the way that those words came alive in our mind. Abundance, that's UCR's abundance. Unity of Cedar Rapids has this amazing abundance. We have the abundance in our music. We have the abundance in all these people that you don't see them very often. I'm discovering them. Amazing people that are doing these great things. A couple of weeks ago, we had folks out cleaning up the yard and weeding and doing all these things. We have the folks that are managing the Elaine Fisher Community Cupboard. We have people that are cleaning in here. We have people that are just doing amazing things. And it's all part of our prosperity. It's all of who we are. Our live stream team back there, talking to the folks here about what shows up on the web page. It is just so cool. It's just amazing that everybody does that, and that we can share these gifts that we have with the world. Okay, so Freeman says, and Fillmore and everybody in Unity says, it's important to pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. What does that mean? It means focusing on the good, because that negative crap is going to try to pull you away. They're going to try to say, no, look over here at the bad news. Let's look at the negative. And so you need to pray without ceasing. You need to pull yourself back and get in line and get in touch and stay connected. And it's hard work. It's hard work. You can't just go say, a couple of prayers here or there. You have to focus positive thoughts and with your affirmations and saying, I am not going to listen to that. I am not going to click on that. I am not going to read all that. I'm just going to let that go. Okay. It's great to have all this imagination. It's great to have these good ideas and this wonderful expression of creativity. It's all really cool. But you know what? If you don't do anything with it, that's all it is. It's just a dream. It's just an idea. And so that's why we need to pull in a couple of other faculties, a couple of other of our powers. And I mentioned it earlier, that conceive, believe, achieve. That believe part is your faith. So if we have this idea of this thriving Unity Center here, it's great to have these great ideas, but if we don't believe it, nothing's going to happen. It's just an idea floating in the air. If you believe, if you can have this idea that you're going to start a new business, or that you're going to have this great job, or that you're going to have this wonderful relationship, that's a great idea. But unless you believe it, nothing will happen. And then the second, or the other faculty to pull in is your will. You must be willing to do, to walk the walk, to do it. So you conceive, believe, achieve. You can't achieve anything if you're not willing to take a step. You can't achieve anything if you're not willing to do something. So those other powers all come together. There is another book, and I didn't give this to the other team. There's this cool book. It's in our bookstore. It's called Power Up. And it has some activities for us to exercise our different faculties. And some of the exercises for imagination, and this is something kind of fun to do. It says, okay, first, number one, to strengthen your imagination, pay attention to the world around you. Notice the sights, the sounds, the colors, the scents, the patterns, the textures. Number two, question unquestioned answers. Number three, grab some paper and doodle. Make a analogies and metaphors in your life. For example, my car is like blank. Actually, that's a simile, but this clock is like because of why, you know? How is this customer like whatever, you know? Here's some more, go out and look at the clouds. How many different pictures can you see? Develop an unfailing bias for creative loafing. Yes. How many of you like that one, you know? Really, creative loafing. We don't allow ourselves time to loaf. We don't allow ourselves time to let those dreams and those ideas come into our consciousness, and we need that. Schedule 20-minute meditation, or 5-minute, or 2-minute, or whatever it takes. You know, schedule time to unplug from the outside world and plug into your God world. Make that connection. Improve your storytelling ability. Think about your goals. What do they look like? Think about what you want Unity Cedar Rapids to look like. And, you know, let's picture that. Let's use our imagination. And then we'll figure out what we believe, and then what we want to achieve. Let's take a few minutes and get still. All right. As we get still, I want you to go back to the idea that we are made in God's image. A meditation technique that is often used is to become aware of your breath. And as you do that, I want you to think, as you breathe in, I want you to think in your mind or say, God is. And as you breathe out, say, I am. God is. I am. God is love. I am love. God is health. I am health. God is peace. I am peace. I am. If you're comfortable going to another level, think of Unity Cedar Rapids as you breathe. God is. We are. God is love. We are love. God is health. We are health. God is peace. We are peace. We let go of the negative images. We just let them float away. And we remember that no good, no prosperity, no success can be achieved on a negative thought. So we focus on what we want. Focus on the dream, the vision, the still voice. We know that God is working in and through us to bring about our good. We are made in God's image and likeness, and we are ready to see the truth and to be that truth. God, the good. And so it is. And so we are grateful.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
And the power of God also protects us.
I am the power of God.
Wherever I am, God is, and all is well.